Hey guys, originally I wasn't going to do a video today because I'm a little bit ahead, and when I get ahead I like to not make any videos so that I can stream longer so that maybe I can do some viewer games and stuff, which I'm still going to do. But I recently, as you guys know, I've been watching YouTube videos and stuff when I'm doing cardio and when I'm doing makeup. I do both of those things every day, so sometimes I run out of the current YouTubers that I watch, like Rob Dyke and stuff. So today I started watching Shannon Rose, and I watched a video of her where she, sorry, my phone needs to be turned off, where she is talking about how her roommate committed suicide when she was staying at some boarding school or something. And it made me think a lot about how my best friend when I was younger died. His name was Andrew. And I thought I would tell you guys the story. Let me move the mic real quick. Okay. And I thought I would tell you guys the story because I haven't really given a lot of detail about it. I talked about it in 2 videos so far. One recently, I talked about it in the drummer, Sex Stories the Drummer, because he was the guy who hooked me up with that guy. There's a hair on my lip. Oh, that's so annoying. Anyway, and I also talked about it in my Draw My Life video, and it was one of the things that people hated on me the most about, I think, in my Draw My Life video. It wasn't the fact that I lost my virginity at 12, it was the fact that I pretty much allowed my best friend to do whatever happened the night that he died. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate on this video because I come into it from a pretty emotionless state, and I don't know, I'm just gonna be completely honest, and I feel like it's almost irresponsible that I decided to put on extra makeup today because I've always hated the fact that I can't do eyeshadow correctly, so I was experimenting with makeup and listening to Shannon Rose, and I feel like it's inappropriate that I have so much makeup on, but hey, this is me. I decided to experiment with makeup, and I'm also thinking about my best friend who died when I was younger. And if anyone hates on me for that, then whatever, you know, this is me. So I'm gonna be completely honest and not worry about how things are gonna make me look and kind of just talk about my thought process at the time. So, the way I met Andrew Bodenheimer, or Bodenheimer, it's fucking weird German last name, I love it. I made myself learn how to spell it, and I can still spell it to this day because I've memorized it, because he was my best friend, and I thought it was hilarious that he had the most ridiculous last name ever. So we met because I was hanging out with one of my friends, and one of my friends needed some weed, and he was his weed guy. So Andrew was his weed guy. We ended up staying at this elementary school where we met. It was raining, and we were in the playground of this elementary school where the weed transaction went down. I used to smoke a lot of weed when I was younger. I don't anymore. And we were just hanging out and talking, and then the guy who I was with decided he had to leave, so I stayed there with Andrew for another 5 hours, and we were just talking, and we like immediately hit it off. I feel like never in my life has there been a time when I immediately hit it off with someone more than with Andrew. And from then on, we were just like fast best friends, and we had only known each other, I feel like, less than a year probably before his death, but like we spent every single day together. It was like, he was the first guy who I would like stay on the phone, like laying on my bed, just like talking all day with, and I could never get enough. It was like my best friend. We would just like talk all the fucking time. I could tell him anything. He was always kind of a sad person though. He was in love with a girl named Whitney, and I'll never forget the name Whitney because he had a picture of her in his wallet. He had pictures of her all over his room, and it wasn't like a creepy way. It was just like little pictures, like her school picture or something that he had taken. And I think this was, I looked at his obituary recently because I was thinking about him, and I think it was in 2003 or something that he died, so I knew him when I was 13 or 14. And he knew me when he was 14 or 15, because he was like a year or 2 older than me. And he was troubled. He was in love with a girl who didn't love him back anymore, who broke it off with him and who he hadn't seen. And I feel like a lot of the times he was in love with me as well, but he never pushed it because he knew that I wasn't his type, or that he wasn't my type, and that he was still in love with Whitney, so it wasn't really like a pressing matter, you know, type of thing. But we loved each other platonically and also as like family, and it was just an amazing ride with him. Like, we would spend so much time together. He was a troublemaker. He was into doing drugs and drinking, and like so was I at the time. I was like having my rebellious spree of like just doing ridiculous shit. And the reason I brought him up in the video, The Drummer, which will be in the description once again, is because he wanted to set me up with like a bunch of different guys because he wanted me to be happy. He was just like the most selfless person when it came to me. And yeah, he would get in fights at school, and he was like this like wirely. He was wiry. I wanted to say wirily muscular because, you know, he was like small but muscular, you know, he had all the cuts and stuff. I don't know what's wrong with my speech today. I'm just very focused, I guess. But he was, like, obviously just wearing wife beaters and being muscular and getting in fights and doing drugs and stuff like that. It paints a picture of someone who's just not stable, and he wasn't stable at that time, and he was always often unhappy, but he seemed so happy when he was with me. And I would, like, bike up to his house, like, on Saturday mornings, every single, like, morning that we had off of school, and we would, like, eat cereal and hang out, and then we would go, like, out biking, and we would go hang out with our friends and stuff. And I was really, really, really in love, like, oh my god, I love this guy so much, with his friend Steve. Like, it was like, he was the cutest guy in the world to me at the time. And so Andrew wanted to hook me up with friends, and the first person he hooked me up with was his cousin, and that didn't work out, as I said in the drummer video. Then he hooked me up with his friend Aaron, which didn't work out just because, you know, we were different people, and Aaron and I were really close at first already, so it was kind of just weird that we pushed it into a relationship. And then the next person, I think it was only 3 people, but the next person he hooked me up with was his friend Jared, and that was the relationship that stuck with me, unfortunately, for 2 years. It was the worst relationship of my entire life, and he was the reason that I didn't help Andrew the day Andrew came to my house and said he needed it. So Jared and Andrew started being enemies, and I had been dating Jared for like half a year at least at that time. And Jared didn't like it that I talked to Andrew, and Andrew didn't like it that I talked to Jared. But the way I saw it, it was kind of just like a stupid feud that didn't mean anything, that didn't have anything to do with me. So I would, like, talk to Andrew for hours on the phone, and then I would hang up and I would call Jared, and I just, like, didn't talk about them to each other and didn't really care to do that because I knew that they would just get all pissy and all jealous and stuff. So I was like, whatever. Andrew knew I was still dating Jared, and, you know, Jared knew that I was still friends with Andrew. But one night I was on the phone with Jared, and I was just laying on my bed talking to Jared, and my doorbell rings, right? And my mom goes to the door, and she's like, Andrew's here, he seems upset, I don't know what's going on with him, but you don't have very long to talk to him, I'm gonna let you talk to him because of how upset he seems. And I'm like, okay, but Jared's on the phone and he's not gonna like that. And it was like really late at night, that's why my mom was like, you don't have very much time. And Andrew spent a bunch of time at my house, so my mom knew him pretty well, my dad knew him pretty well. My dad didn't like any of my guy friends. My dad was like, these fucking little hooligans, blah, 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 and he's always been that way, like, forever. He didn't even like my best friend, Chris, who was my best friend prior to this, and is still my best friend to this day. Not best friend, but, like, we're really close friends, and we will always be. That bond has always been there, and he's the person that I spent most of my time playing video games with when I grew up, but he didn't even like him, and Chris is, like, great. There was, like, no drugs, no alcohol, no philandering around, like, he was just a good kid, you know, so my dad was clearly just overprotective. I went to the door and I was like, hey Andrew, what's up? And he was like, I really need to talk to you. He seemed really, like, his brain was just askew, and he had a bunch of things he needed to talk to me about, and I knew that he had issues with the people who supplied him the drugs to supply to other people, like, he was a middleman kind of thing, and I knew that he had, like, kind of, like, problems with them, and he was never friends with them, like, never, like, he didn't even go around that area because they would get in a fight if he did. And this will make sense to you later in the story, I promise you. I'm really bad at telling stories, I really need to get better at it, but hopefully this gives you a sense of what was going on. So I was like, okay, Jared, I'm gonna talk to Andrew, and Jared goes, do not fucking talk to Andrew. If you talk to Andrew, I will never talk to you again. And it was, like, such a fucking stupid, like, Jared's, like, literally the worst boyfriend anyone could ever imagine, like, just, like, a liar, a cheater, constantly in and out of juvie, but for some reason, I was attracted to the good parts of him. Like, he was really smart to me. He was one of the smarter people you know, like, I could actually have a conversation with him, and up until then, relationships when I'm younger, they're always just, like, stupid shit, you know, and I felt like we were on the same level when we did talk intellectually, and I cared about him for many different reasons, and we had our good times, and we would spend a lot of time. It was just, like, it was a good relationship, but he was a terrible person off and on, and it was, like, the most frustrating thing, and I was young, and that doesn't excuse me from being a fucking idiot, but I was. So I decided to be like, I'm sorry, Andrew, I can't. Jared doesn't want me to. That's my boyfriend. What am I gonna do, you know? And I made the incorrect choice. And in hindsight, I made the wrong choice, obviously. But would I do it again? I mean, I would never be in a relationship like that again. I wouldn't be in a relationship where someone dictates what I do, even sexually. So And now that I'm more sure of myself, and now that I know what I want in life, and now that I'm true to the people who are always there for me, I would never do something like that again. But like in that time, I would have done it again, and I wouldn't have thought that it would be, you know, a big deal. A lot of people have friends that they have to turn down, you know, doing things with because they're busy, or they don't understand the gravity of the situation, which was, you know, me. Like Andrew was a very skittish person. Like I felt like he was just, you know, he just talked to Whitney and had a Whitney problem or something, and I was like, whatever, I'm sorry, I can't. And I closed the door, and he was like, please, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, like it was so stupid, and I didn't realize how much he needed me at the moment, and I had always been there for him, always, and just this one time I wanted to keep my boyfriend, you know, so I didn't think that anything would be anything. The next day, it comes time for my mom to drive me to cheerleading practice, so I'm getting ready for cheerleading practice, which was something that back when Andrew and Jared were friends, they would come watch me and my friend Sam do, and Sam had dated Andrew for a while as like a... It was like a cute little thing. Like Sam was my best female friend back then, and Sam and I were in cheer. So I get ready to go to cheer, and my mom gets a phone call, and my mom is like, yes, okay, and then she bursts into tears. Now I'm like, is grandma dead? Because my mom is a pretty emotional person. Like I feel like I'll get a lot of my emotionlessness from her, because I feel like it's cringy how randomly she gets emotional. But my mom has had a fucking hard life, like an incredibly hard life, and I'm not going to go into detail on that because my mom's a very private person as well, and doesn't even really like it when she's like, are you sure you should be saying things like that in vlogs, because she watches my vlogs, and I'm like, yeah, Mom, it's whatever, I'm fucking open, who cares? But I don't like give away a lot of her information because of that. But I feel like a lot of my emotionlessness is seeing how her emotions affect her way too greatly, and it's really annoying. Like she can be yelling at me about cleaning my room, and we get in a fight, and then she, you know, ends that fight in crying and telling me she's sorry or something, and it's just like irritating to me. Like, why can't we have a normal conversation? So I didn't think too much of it, but I was worried. I was like, what happened? And she didn't want to tell me, and it was so fucking weird. And when we get to cheer practice, she pulls, or my coach comes out and already knows the gravity of the situation for some reason, and starts talking to my mom. My mom says, stay in the car. And I'm like, why? And then I realized that I go into cheer practice and I'm like warming up. I can remember, this is so fucking vivid. I have a really bad long-term memory. Like I can't even remember like movies that I saw a couple months ago. I'm really just bad at that shit. So that's why I didn't remember Thwomp's name for a while. I was like, oh, the block guy from Mario. But I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And I go inside and I'm stretching, and I can remember the concrete of the floor and looking into the mirror and seeing all of the girls, and I remember what I was wearing, and Sam's not there. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like getting chills now just thinking about how I felt. Like, what the fuck happened to Sam? My cheer coach fucking knows about it. My mom is crying. Like, what happened? And my cheer coach comes in and grabs me, and she's like, okay, your mom and I decided to tell you. And I'm just like, fuck, dude, I'm just like freaking out. And my mom says, I'm sitting, she tells me to sit down in the car, so I'm sitting in the car, my Saturn that, you know, later becomes mine, and I'm sitting there with the door open, and like my legs, I just remember everything, and I wish I was better at painting a picture for you guys, like the atmosphere. It was like a nice day in summer, I was getting ready for cheer, things are supposed to be happy, and she says, last night they found Andrew dead. And it was so weird. I burst into tears, and I told my cheer coach when she tried to hug me to fuck off, like literally just like fuck off. But I didn't feel like I needed to be bursting into tears. It was weird. I felt angry. And every time I come to an emotional pass in my life, it's like I can either be angry or I can be overwhelmed with such anger and not be able to vent it that I start crying. It's like that's what I choose. It's just like I'm a very like passionate person in certain circumstances, but not necessarily a very empathetic person, if that makes sense. So I was just like bawling, and of course there's a baby walking down the hallway when I'm fucking trying to do my videos. Like literally, I'm gonna have to like complain or something. But anyway, I don't know. My mom was like, do you want to skip cheer practice and go see Sam? And I'm like, yes. And Sam and I just spent the day together. Like I remember we took a sunset walk around her house, and like I spent so much time at Sam's house. Like she was one of my first like bisexual lesbian encounters too. And we were really close at the time, and she had dated Andrew, and we just kind of spent the night together. And I remember I had to go to school because school's ending soon, but I had to go to school the next day. And I remember thinking like, it's so stupid, like how I was affected, and I knew I was gonna miss him, but it wasn't like like the way Shannon Rose described finding her friend, her roommate in the closet was like, she couldn't even tell it without crying. But I don't feel like crying right now, and it's a shitty thing. That's why I want to get a psych test, because I don't know. I'm like way too logical or something. I don't know. But I remember thinking, I probably shouldn't put on makeup to go to school today, because then it will look like I'm not grieving. And I went to school without makeup purposefully, just because I felt like that was what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to be grieving really hard. And I was, and I missed him, and I was sad, and they said like, oh, we're grabbing a bunch of people from here and from the high school, because I was still in middle school. We're grabbing a bunch of people for a, what do they call it when they do like a morning session with the, counselor, just in case, someone's having a problem with someone dying or whatever, like a morning session or whatever. So I go there, and it was just like really stupid shit I did not need to hear, shit that did not help. It doesn't fucking bring Andrew back. It doesn't, I don't need to deal with my emotions. I want my fucking friend back, right? And so I just left. I actually just left the school. Like, I skipped school a lot. I maintain A's, like straight A's, when I skip school so much, because the public school system, as I've said a billion times, is the easiest shit in the world. Graded on a curve, fucking stupid. But I left, and I decided to just take a walk and not be at school that day. And I walked around, and I remember there, they have those like security guard cars that just drive up and like make sure people are doing, it looks like a cop car, but it's not. It's just like the security campus crap. He came up and he's like, why are you not at school? You need to go back to school. And I'm like, yeah, any other day I would allow you to take me back to school, but today my fucking friend just died. Leave me the fuck alone. And he actually left me the fuck alone. And I was just like, I remember I was sitting outside in the residential area outside a house, just like sitting and thinking about all of the times with Andrew. I called Jared the day that Andrew died, and this is when I realized how much I actually hated Jared. And it's stupid because it took me another 1.5 years to get out of the relationship after that. But I said, Andrew just died. And he said, so? And I was like, are you fucking kidding? And I just like got off the phone after that. Like, I will never forget how he just was like, and like, so I don't know if it was so or and, but it was just like, it pissed me off to no end. This person was your friend for so long. Like, throw away your stupid fucking insecurities and your arguments and all the shit that was probably just because Andrew was sticking up for him being a dick to me or something. I don't know. But after that, I went to his viewing, and it was the first time I had ever seen anyone dead before. And I saw that he had like the makeup that they put on him was like smearing, and you could see like a little like dot here, like right in the middle of his head. And I don't know what that was, but to me, I feel like he was murdered. I think it was ruled as an accidental overdose, but he was found in the truck, the back of the truck of the car of the guy that I said he would never be caught dead with because he owed him money for some drugs or some shit. And I really feel like he was murdered. And I feel like if it wasn't an accident, if it wasn't murder, then it was suicide. And it's just like so stupid. And I remember like advocating for them to actually investigate further into it, but it was just like a really quick closed case. And yeah, I don't know. After that, I didn't have Andrew as like a backbone. So like, anytime I would have like a huge fight with Jared, it was just like I felt empty and hopeless. And later, one of our friends, Sasha, found his like notebook. He was a really good artist, and he would draw. And he drew like a picture for me, and it said, "To Tara, my savior." And it was just like so stupidly timed and sad. And it was just, and I always felt like if there was an afterlife, which there isn't, and if there was he's looking over me in heaven, which there isn't, I feel like he would be the person to be protecting me and making sure I'm happy. And that feeling of like how good of a friend he was, it's not like that he's watching over me. It's that, it feels nice that I had someone who cared about me so much and who knew me for me. And I vowed to never have anyone, like, it took me a while to get there, but I vowed to never have anyone like, in my life. Like, I can easily cut people out of my life. I feel more so because I knew how good of a friend someone could be, and clearly I wasn't a good enough friend, and that sucks. But I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it, and I've been thinking about it lately. A couple of weeks ago, I actually looked up the obituary, and it was cute. It was like, oh, he's into sports, and he was a good boy. And I'm like, that's not how I remember him. But yeah, he was athletic, I would say. And I went to his house afterwards, and I saw his family. His family didn't really like me. His brother didn't like me. And I looked up his brother recently on Facebook, and I thought about contacting him, but like, for what, And I laid on his bed, and his mom said I could take like one piece of, you know, memorabilia from him, and I don't remember what it was. I think it was his drawing book. I think I took his drawing book. He had like a bunch of different drawing books, but I found one in his room, and I was just laying there and just, I don't know, reminiscing. And I feel like he was a good part in my life, and, you know, I wish he hadn't have died, and I know it's not my fault, obviously. Like, a lot of people in the comments in my Draw My Life video, and a lot of people in the comments here, I'm assuming, will be saying that it's my fault, but, like, especially when you're a kid, you just can't, like, logically, you can't have amazing hindsight. You do things that are irrational or selfish, and that's just, like, part of growing up and part of becoming a real human. Like, I read a story recently that teenagers, they statistically lack empathy until they're actually of age, like a certain age. I don't know. I don't know the fucking actual statistics, but it says that when you're growing up, when you're a teenager, is when you lack the most empathy. And I feel like teenagers do a lot of stupid fucking shit, and it sucks that something stupid that I did probably directly affected the life of someone I cared about, and, you know, ended the life of someone I cared about. But I don't know. I hope that everyone else who goes through something like this can deal with it well. I hope that there's a message in here somewhere to not take, you know, the people you actually care about for granted. And this has been a really long video, so I should probably go, but I don't want to cut it up because I know this will feel more personal if I don't. I don't cut out anything that makes it fake. I like cuts because it makes things more just like clear, start to finish, good storytelling. And I know that my storytelling sucks, but I definitely want my viewers to feel like this one is more personal, because it is. You know, it's a part in my life that I wouldn't trade for anything. And he was the person who, you know, showed me that friends can be real friends, and they only come and go when they die, basically. So yeah. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please post in the comments if you've ever lost someone you care about a lot. Like, let me know. This is a place where we can all, you know, feel like we have a therapist, or that we have friends. And I read a comment recently where a girl said that, you know, she was too sexual or something and thought about committing suicide because her family wasn't okay with it and people were berating her for it. And then she found solace in my videos and, you know, my different way of thinking. And it can give you kind of like a God complex, but at the same time, it's really nice that I feel like I have an extended family, and I am just the person that connects all of us together as an extended family. So I love you guys very much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Seriously, if you got through the 22 minutes and 36 seconds or whatever, you're awesome. Bye guys.